The Prince Albert Arts Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Andrée Felley-Martinson in the Artist category. Andrée came to Canada as the young wife of a Medicare doctor, knowing very little about the country and nothing about Saskatchewan.
As an artist, she matured over the years. She had taken training in England, where her husband was a resident, a doctor, and she got excellent training there. But when they moved to Canada, she didn't know where Saskatchewan was. You can imagine growing up in the Alps. Imagine growing up in Switzerland, surrounded by mountains. You know, the space is very close, but this was the biggest, most open space she'd ever experienced in her life. She stopped painting for 10 years. She just had to acclimatize. And she had no roots here. She didn't know anybody. Gradually, she kind of set down roots. Once she got her driver's license, then she would drive to Saskatoon, go to the Mendel, see the shows that were there, take some workshops. And she started painting again. She was really, from then on, she was painting. And she found herself as a painter here in Saskatchewan.
Over the next few decades, Andrée would become close friends with fellow artists George Glenn, Aganitha Dick, and fellow Arts Hall of Fame inductee Marguerite Van Welsum. Together, they planted the seeds of a vibrant artistic community and nurtured its ongoing activity.
I think you can achieve soulful artwork that expresses fully who you are when you know who you are. And I believe she is someone who did fully know who she was. And I believe she had uncompromising character. I know that she had strong relationships with other artists in the community. All those decades that she painted, that grows you as an artist and helps you to develop your craft.
The first time I saw her work, it just stopped me in my tracks. I had never seen anything like it. It just, it took my breath away. And even now, when I look through the booklet, I go back to it again and again, and it still brings me that excitement and inspiration.
She was such a gregarious person. She was outgoing. She could meet anybody. She'd look you right in the eye. She'd go right to the heart of who you were. And she'd want to know all about you, and she was definitely interested. There was nothing superficial about it.
She could take simple objects and raise them. There were many layers to her paintings, and it was fun to look at them and try to figure out who she was. You know, there'd be layers of charcoal or layers of graphite, then thick paint over top of it, and not precious. It was applied in such a way that it drew you in, and it was time after time you would go back to them and see something different. Yeah. 2015,
I attended an art opening of hers at the Mann Gallery, and she was having a retrospective of her work there. And at the opening, she was being interviewed, and of course, in conversation, she was asked about how art played an importance in her life. And she just said, "I just love paint." And I remember how that just cut straight to my core, because I could identify with that as an artist. And I know that did the same for not only myself, but for other artists in the room and other people who appreciate art as well. And that just touched me. Mm-hmm.
Andrée passed away on November 14th, 2019, but her legacy survives through her work and loved ones.
She was a great artist. Her drawing was excellent. Her painting was great. Her style just matured. It got stronger and stronger as she went along. And she didn't stop, even in her 99th year, when her mobility was an issue. And the interesting thing about what I discovered in her studio, but she had everything set up by her easel, and her tubes of paint, when I looked at them, I realized she could never have taken because of her arthritis, she could never take the caps off the tubes. And right beside her easel was this little paint-covered penknife. And what she did to get the paint out of the tubes is she would literally eviscerate the tube and extrude the paint. There were no obstacles for her to paint.
I think people of PA and area need to see her work and see who she was, where she came from, what she has to say. She's so inspiring. Her work still needs to be shared because there's so much to learn from it. I admired everything about her.
She shared with us fully who she was as a person, and shared with us the richness and the uniqueness of her own personal style. And of course she did that through her beautiful paint, her choice of color and texture, and the simplicity of her artwork. And it's just beautiful. Mm-hmm.
The Prince Albert Arts Hall of Fame is proud to recognize Andrée Felley-Martinson in the Artist category.